Welcome, everybody, to the City of Farmers Branch City Council meeting for Tuesday, April 16th. First up will be our invocation and pledges, which will be led by Councilman Jackson.
Everyone please stand and join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we humble ourselves before you, remaining deeply thankful for the opportunity to serve our city. We are blessed to be here tonight. There's so much unrest in our world these days, so I'm grateful for your reminders to be faithful, especially when things don't go our way, but to know they always go your way, because it's all part of your plan. So tonight, as we carry out your plan for our city, I invite your presence in this room, your guiding hand on our hearts, in our words and decisions, and that we keep in perspective that it is a blessing to be here. Amen. Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas,
One state, under God, one and indivisible. Before we get started, let me just take a second to introduce David Berman, who is our city attorney this evening. So I'd like to welcome him here.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next up are ceremonial items. First up is E1, which is presentation of a proclamation declaring April 22nd through May 12th and September 5th through October 29th as Lights Out Nights. In alignment with the city's strategic plan and sustainability plan, the Sustainability Committee recommended a proclamation be presented to encourage residents to turn off non-essential lights during peak bird migration periods. This proclamation will raise awareness of the impact of light pollution on wildlife and encourage residents and businesses to act to reduce migratory bird mortality. So I have a proclamation for Lights Out Texas. Whereas each year nearly 2 billion birds migrate through the state of Texas, and whereas these birds must contend with a rapidly increasing but under-recognized threat, light pollution. Light attracts and disorients migratory birds, making them vulnerable to collisions with buildings and other urban threats. And whereas turning out non-essential lights also provides additional benefits, such as reducing electricity consumption, saving money, and reducing pollution associated with power production. And whereas Farmers Branch is joining an international effort to reduce bird building collisions by proposing and implementing a simple solution to protect birds, turning off non-essential lighting during critical migratory or migration periods. Turning off non-essential lights dramatically reduces hazards to migrating birds, allowing them to safely proceed with their journey. And whereas Lights Out Texas is a statewide initiative that aims to raise awareness of this issue and is facilitated by Audubon Texas in collaboration with conservation nonprofits, university, government organizations, and Texans dedicated to the conservation of birds. And whereas residents and businesses or business owners are encouraged to help protect birds and save energy by turning off all non-essential lighting across the city from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. during the spring and fall critical bird migration periods, April 22nd through May 12th and September 5th through October 29th. Now, therefore, I, Terry Lynn, Mayor of Farmers Branch, hereby proclaim the critical migration periods, as stated, as Lights Out Nights. So let's take care of the birds. You see many of them out front here. Next up is item E2, which is a presentation of the Employee of the Month for March to Josephine Nunez from the Public Works Department. I'm not going to let you sit down there. You got to come up here.
I was just waiting.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good. You know, in Farmers Branch, we recognize employees each month that exemplify our critical values, which is respect, excellence, accountability, care, and trust. And so tonight we recognize Josephine, customer success representative in our Public Works Department, as our Employee of the Month for the month of March. Josephine has been a dedicated and valuable member of the city since joining in June of 2023. Her consistent willingness to assist and take on tasks demonstrates her reliability and commitment to her role. Being proactive and supportive of her team members also highlights her effectiveness as a valuable asset to the team. Her willingness to assist showcases her dedication on helping others and the city. And so, on behalf of the city, I want to say thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
You want to say a word?
Well, I want to thank my community here at City Hall for helping me do my job. I'm learning a lot from these staff members here in order to help the community overall. So thank y'all too. Okay?
One other thing, yes, because my name is Yoko Matsumoto with the Human Resources Department. So you get this formal, beautiful trophy, and that's what most of the community sees. Every month, they get this fantastic trophy. However, on the back end of things, we celebrate in a quirky way, and Josephine was presented at our last quarterly event. So we have quarterly breakfast where we invite all of the employees that received a coin for the past 3 months. And Josephine was the, obviously, person for the Employee of the Month. However, our Corky trophy wasn't ready. So I'm going to give you the Corky trophy tonight. So hold on one second. So I wanted to kind of embarrass you tonight. So this is something that we as staffers know that goes around the department. So every time somebody gets Employee of the Month, they actually get the Employee of the Month trophy with a mum, a handmade mum. And inside we just put treats. We always put a duck. For some reason the staff love to see what duck they're gonna get that day. So you can put it on somebody's Jeep if you want, or you can keep it at your space. And we add all of the employees as they get their award, we add their name. So Josephine, your name was not ready. That's why I didn't want to give you the trophy. It's on there, you see it, Employee of the Month. This is yours to share with your team. And the quirky part of it is you need to figure out something that's related to your job and you glue it on the trophy. So you see there's people keep adding quirky things that they feel represent them in their role. So you can get a super glue gun and just glue on whatever you want and pass it on to the next person. So here is your Corky trophy. Thank you for all you do. So now y'all can do. Oh no, okay.
So I know we have some Sustainability Committee members, and if we can get you all to come up, we'll just get a quick photo. There we go. Next up are items of community interest. Mr. Brady.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Items of community interest for this meeting of April 16th, 2023, Earth Day. Earth Day is Monday, April 22nd, and it's a great opportunity to take steps to preserve our planet for future generations. Why not drop off food waste at the Citizens Collection Center, for instance, or save water by getting a checkup on your irrigation system? These ideas and many more are available now at farmersbranchtx.gov. Okay, how do you like the look of our new lobby? We have consolidated services at our new expanded customer service desk where citizens can get everything done at City Hall in one central location. Not quite finished yet, but it should be finished soon with a ribbon cutting in May, so stay tuned for that. Make plans now to bring your fishing pole and youngsters to Fish and Fun right here at Rawhide Creek behind City Hall next Saturday, April 27th from 8 a.m. to noon. It's an annual kids fishing tournament. Rawhide Creek will be stocked with over a ton of hungry catfish and bluegill. It's free as always and open to the public. And we're still accepting adult volunteers. If you're interested, no angling experience required. Learn more by calling 972-919-8740. Farmers Branch voters will have 3 municipal propositions to consider on the May ballot, all of which would be funded by municipal bonds. Learn more at fbbond2024.com. That's our website. The ballot will also include charter amendments and, of course, the general election. Find more details on the homepage also at farmersbranchtx.gov. And by the way, early voting begins April 22nd at Mansky Library and the Brookhaven campus. And of course, Election Day is Saturday, May 4th. Now, we also want to let you know we have a new tab on the homepage of our website called Be Informed. So there it is on the far right. You can see, there it is right there, Be Informed. It's one of the large navigation buttons that links to future City Council agenda items and a P&Z case tracker so citizens can be aware of items headed to both agendas. The winning artwork from the most recent Arts and Culture Committee's art contest has now been installed on 2 traffic signal boxes. Carlos Martinez took first place. His artwork is on display at Luna Road and Valley View. Agnieszka A. Cervantes took second, and her art is at Alpha and Midway. Congratulations to both homegrown artists. We also want your input on active transportation, specifically walking, running, or biking here in Farmers Branch. We need suggestions on how to make it safer and more efficient. You can take a Polco survey underway right now, again at farmersbranchtx.gov, or come to our in-person session tomorrow night. That'll be April 17th at 6 p.m. in the Pecan Room at the Rec Center. Your ideas will help develop future projects. Join the fire department for a sensory-friendly open house on Saturday, April 20th at Fire Station number 2 from 8 a.m. to noon. We'll have a bounce house and a rope rescue demonstration, and it will also feature interactive displays and activities that are a little quieter and more relaxed for anyone with sensory sensitivities. All are welcomed. If your current electricity contract expires between May 6th and September 24th, you could be eligible for a new low-cost option with Power Switch, a group energy buying program. There's no cost to sign up. Register by April 23rd at texaspowerswitch.com/Farmers Branch. How would you like to serve the city without having to run for office? Consider volunteering for one of our boards or commissions. Most volunteers serve 2-year terms and consider it a great way to give back without a long-term commitment. Sign up before May 1st. You can learn more at fbboards.com. And if you'd like to learn to save a life, sign up for our fire department CPR and AED class on Saturday, May 4th at 9 a.m. You'll learn about cardiac arrest, hands-only CPR, the Heimlich maneuver, and much more. It's free, but seats are limited. Email cpr@farmersbranchtx.gov. Are you looking for a way to celebrate Mom? Well, Mother's Day is just a month away, and this year, Mums and Sons will be Sunday, May 5th in our historical park from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., and it'll be an adventure in Wonderland with lawn games, crafts, a picnic lunch, and much more. Call 972-406 0184 to register. And as always, you can sign up for City e-News at farmersbranchtx.gov. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Brady. We did have our study session this afternoon and had a number of items that are very noteworthy. We did receive a presentation from Hyder Garcia, who is the new elections administrator for Dallas County, and he was here to talk about the integrity of elections and steps that are being taken to help secure elections. The city has updated and submitting to the state its 2024 water conservation plan. As you heard Mr. Brady allude to, we're in the midst of redesigning our website. So over the next, probably between now and next year, you're going to see a lot of changes going on city website. So hopefully making the experience for anybody going online much easier and much smoother. We had conversation about our mid-year budget and got an update on where we are with respect to that. And then taking some final action on Firehouse Theater, not taking action, but some final discussion before we take action on the use agreement with the Firehouse Theater. And then received an update from myself and council members regarding things that we are involved with, our boards, other commissions that we serve as liaisons for. For a complete rundown on the study session, you can go to farmersbranchtx.gov and see everything there. So that will take care of that. Moving on, it's our citizen comment period. There is a 3-minute time limit for each citizen to speak with a reasonable limitation on speakers on one topic or item with a maximum of 15 total minutes on the same topic. Anyone wishing to speak shall be courteous and cordial. No disparaging or inflammatory remarks directed at any member of the city council or city staff will be allowed. And first up, I have John Green. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Somebody flipped my pages here. That is not correct. Bear with me here 1 second. I apologize. First up is Danny Bockermel. Danny Bockermel. Okay. Michael Murph.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Murph, and I am the chair of the board of the nonprofit organization called Make It Count, formerly known as Bees Kids. I am here this evening simply to reintroduce our organization to the Farmers Branch community. We have served the underprivileged children of the Farmers Branch community for over 30 years. We believe that today's children are tomorrow's leaders, and we want to make sure that they know to make it count and make a difference in their lives. We make it count through the many programs that we have, that we offer to keep the kids off the streets, keep them in school, feed them, and to break the cycle of poverty. Our programs include summer enrichment program that is held here in Farmers Branch, where we feed these children and take them on unique field trips. We end the summer with a Not Just for Kicks, giving kids shoes to wear to next school year based on their behavior at summer camp. We just purchased a vending machine for children at the Dave Blair Elementary here in Farmers Branch And lastly, our Great Christmas Giveaway. We served over 100 kids this past year to relieve the burden of buying gifts of their parents. It is our goal this year to raise enough money for another book vending machine here in the Farmers Branch Elementary Schools and to serve more kids in our summer camp and our Christmas giveaway. We can't do that without raising awareness, which is why I am here this evening, and also support of the city as well as funding in the community. I look forward to meeting all of you city council members, each individually, and having a discussion with you about how we can partner to continue to make a difference in the lives of our children in this great community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Vicki Harrison. I
You
can't
still
hear.
want name and address and all that?
Yes,
business?
name and address,
Vicki
please.
Harrison, 3706 Ridge Oak Way, Farmers Branch, Texas, 75234.
Thank you.
Yes, I would like to first of all say I'm really pleased that the citizen comment is toward the beginning of the meeting and that there is more of an opportunity for open discussion because I feel as though there have been far fewer opportunities for open discussion. And in the past years, if there was an initiative that was going to make a large change in the city, in what's allowed in the city, different initiatives, we used to have huge town hall meetings. People came. It was not predetermined questions. Nothing was censored. They could openly have their input on things that the city was considering changing, especially if they weren't, for example, now we have a comprehensive plan. We established certain goals for the city. So if you're going to do things that are outside that purvey, it would seem that you would feel compelled to discuss it with the citizens openly. Everyone knows what's happening, what's going on, what their feelings are, because you were elected to represent the will of the people, not to make dramatic changes in the city without input. And many times of late, people have felt like that some people on the council perhaps viewed them as the enemy. And also in your own meetings, there has been strong, contentious, not discussions. So I would say I'm grateful for you providing this opportunity, but I wish there would be more opportunities where people felt really relaxed and able to express themselves without being attacked. So blessings to all of you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Next up is Douglas Polk.
Doug Polk, 1401 South I-35. Good evening. Today I'm going to be discussing the upcoming card house proposal and the reality of card houses in Farmers Branch. While technically no card house exists within the city today, in reality one is already effectively here. Just 0.13 miles away from the border in the Sam Moon Center, Texas Card House is in full operation. Ironically, while surrounded by Farmers Branch on 3 sides, it produces absolutely no benefits to the city. Instead, many of that location's 150,000 annual visits, which could be producing revenues and jobs here in Farmers Branch, go to Dallas. While this upcoming vote is on whether to allow card room use, it would be helpful to compare that business to our proposed site and operation should this vote pass. We've applied for use at 4880 Alpha Road in the overlay district, which is an ideal fit given that Farmers Branch is trying to revitalize an area that primarily consists of warehouses. Our proposal would add over 300,000 visits to the city annually, 200 to 300 new jobs, 1 to 1.5 million in sales tax, and $300 to $400 million in total economic activity over the next 10 years. We are the largest room in the state of Texas, and Round Rock is considerably smaller than the Dallas Metroplex. It would take only 1 to 1.5 times our current establishment to reach these goals. That sounds promising, but how far away is the proposed location from core community pillars such as single-family homes and educational facilities? The existing card room in the Sam Moon Center is half a mile away from the nearest home and 1/3 of a mile away from Dallas Christian College. Our location in the overlay district is much further removed from all of them. There are more card rooms on the horizon, which will be located on just the other side of the tollway. These will not produce any revenues for Farmers Branch. If card rooms were so detrimental, why haven't there been any protests from Farmers Branch citizens? I have to wonder just how many residents here even know there's currently a card room just 2 football fields away from the city. I am well aware that some in the city will oppose any changes to Farmers Branch. However, I suggest that you not be swayed by just a single type of resident on this proposal, which, if approved, could help so many. Some of those residents have been spreading totally unfounded accusations about this project. I want to be crystal clear. There is no financial involvement, existing or promised, to anyone at the city, the mayor, the council, or any other official with this project. Playing cards is legal in the state of Texas. You are not voting on whether to make it legal or not. You are voting on whether or not to add this approved use to the city. In summary, Farmers Branch stands a lot to gain by capitalizing on an industry that it essentially already has. 4880 Alpha aligns perfectly with the long-term vision for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Michael Reisman.
Michael Reisman, 1401 South I-35. Good evening, Council. I truly appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to speak today. I'd like to talk about the positive impact Lodge Card Club has had on tourism, specifically in Round Rock, since we opened 6 years ago. Our player pool consists primarily of members who travel to Round Rock from neighboring towns and cities to relax and enjoy their favorite hobby and pastime. Lodge Card Club has become a highly respected destination for its friendly and safe environment. Here are some of the facts and figures. Every year, over 12,000 players travel from other states and countries to our card room. Our primary exposure is our highly successful and respected YouTube live stream that airs 4 times every week. The show has 177,000 subscribers and garners roughly 100 million views across all social media platforms. This exposes Round Rock to millions of viewers who otherwise would not know of its existence. Our plan includes a stream here at Farmers Branch, shining a global spotlight on Farmers Branch, which will result in increased tourism and financial growth for the city. These visitors often stay in nearby hotels. We had a financial impact survey conducted which shows approximately $1.8 million in lodging in just a single year. That number grows annually after a decade and will reach about $6 million annually. The 10-year total spending strictly on lodging will exceed over $35 million. Those numbers are in a much smaller metro. We project those numbers here in Farmers Branch to exceed or get close to about $50 million. These numbers also lead to city revenue projections via the hotel occupancy tax. And in Round Rock, that was about over $3.1 million combined over 10 years. Again, it should be higher projected here. Virtually every Round Rock hospitality enterprise enjoys a significant uptick in business directly attributed to Lodge Card Club. Whether the players dine locally at restaurants, fast food locations, shop at other local venues, or simply sleep in the surrounding hotels and motels, they all enhance financial revenue of Round Rock and ultimately Farmers Branch municipal area. Historically, during our annual championship series, we have attendees from Canada, Germany, Luxembourg, the United Kingdom, and Australia. Additionally, at least 46 other states come to visit during this time. This Farmers Branch proposal would add more than 300,000 visits annually. Each and every one of those visitors brings a need to eat, shop, and reside locally. Many new business opportunities will arrive with the approval of card rooms here in Farmers Branch. In summary, tourism will enhance the success of Farmers Branch. Aside from boosting the economic base, this entertainment use will create hundreds of jobs. It will promote a cultural exchange between foreign visitors and local citizens. And all this contributes to a vibrant, dynamic community and improves the quality of life of residents here at Farmers Ranch. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Jason Levin.
Hello, my name is Jason Levin. My address is 1401 South I-35. Good evening, Council. I just want to thank you for letting me speak here. Today I'm going to discuss about the security of card rooms and the measure taken by Lodge Card Club in Round Rock to ensure the safety of its members and avoid crime. As the largest and most successful card room in the state, I think it's important to understand what we as the industry leader are doing. I'm the original founder of the Lodge Card Club. Over the 6.5 years of operations, we've not had a single adverse incident in our facility. Additionally, there has not been any increase of crime in the area that may in any way be attributed to the Lodge Card Club and its operation. This would be corroborated by the Round Rock Police Department. Our club is renowned for its warm and inviting atmosphere, providing a comfortable place to be for all of our members. Behind the scenes, however, we've developed and implemented a robo-strategy to maintain the highest level of security. Some of the measures we have implemented to provide a secure environment include our extensive surveillance system, the heart of any card room's defense. More than 130 cameras have been strategically placed throughout our parking lot and premise, operating 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. They provide surveillance of all lodge activities, from desk entrance, procedures, tables, cashier, and the parking lot. Whatever transpires inside or outside of our venue, we have surveillance footage. Whenever the Round Rock Police Department seeks our assistance, we respond to their request to help protect not just our premises, but the surrounding businesses as well. It should be emphasized that while catching everything on camera is an effective defensive maneuver, another procedure we have implemented helps catch criminals before they have even a chance to act. Our external parking lot is monitored by a specialized service called Flock, which has cameras that record license plates and promptly flag any vehicles associated with police alerts. It is if flagged license plate is detected, our software immediately notifies the police, preventing unruly individuals from visiting our clubs or loitering in the parking area. Therefore, directly contrary to any suggestion that card room protects criminals or security measures not only prevent crimes from occurring, but also notify and assist the police in ensuring that if anyone does commit an awful act, they are swiftly brought to justice. The reality of our card room is that despite our extensive monitoring program, because there is cash money on the premises, we also maintain the presence of armed security personnel 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. Vigilant multiple armed level 3 guards are always present on sites. Also, for those members who might feel insecure walking out into the parking lot at night, our trained guards will accompany members to their cars, ensuring their safety. I just want to thank you for your time, and I appreciate everything.
Thank you. Next up is Rick Johnson.
Staff, council, mayor, I want to talk too about gambling. Just because it might be right someplace else doesn't mean it's right for us. We voiced our opinion. There was not one person that lived in Farmers Branch that spoke up and said they wanted it at the P&Z meeting. That's all and well, fine. It's just not for us. I thought the public speaking session were people that live in Farmers Branch. It says that here. It says for us to address you and tell us what our concerns and wants are. Are we now letting anybody who comes up here speak? Yes. Because if that's so, I can fill this place up like you've never seen. And then I'll tell you bad things about what gambling does. So I'd like you to review that, check it. Anyways, what it comes down to is the majority of the people here, almost all of them that you talk to, people campaigning and everything else, they don't want this in our city. And it's 2 football fields away, just like the gentleman said. But he failed to tell you that Dallas would do anything to get rid of that place, and they're trying to. So if we're going to be honest about it, let's be honest about it. It's not right for here, go someplace else. Maybe you tried to go to Carrollton, they wouldn't take it. You know, maybe you tried to go to Addison and they won't take it. But somehow it's going to be forced down our throat like apartments often are. We didn't elect you guys to make the decision for yourselves. Your vote is no more than what mine or anybody else here is that lives in this city. So you need to separate yourselves from the rigmarole and all the fanfare that goes around with that stuff. I mean, we had this big deal over pickleball. Where's it at? It's supposed to be here for 10 years. It was a guarantee. Man, I can't believe how many times I heard that from you guys. Now it's gone after 1 year. What did it cost the city? Nobody seems to know. So you know what? Just because somebody wants to come into our city, and like a certain person up there said, I just can't imagine why nobody would want money. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Well, guess what? It's not always about the money, because once we lose this, it's gone. This isn't our town anymore. It's somebody else's.
Thank you. Next up is Rick Epstein.
Rick Epstein, 1401 South I-35. Good evening, everyone. My name is Rick Epstein. I'm a part-time employee at Lodge Card Club in addition to a business owner in the Austin, Texas area. I want to explain why I believe a Lodge Card Room located in Farmers Branch would be a substantial addition to available recreational opportunities. To begin, I thought it might be helpful if I told you a little bit about the demographic makeup of our members. The following data was collected with over 6 years of data. 34% are between the ages of 21 and 34. 40% between 35 and 49, and 26% are 50 years and older. That includes me. No one under the age of 21 is ever allowed to be present. A snapshot of the income levels of our members shows that as a group, they are very high income earners. The median household income is 10% higher than the state average. 25% of the households make between $100,000 and $150,000 a year, whereas Texas as a whole, only 16% of the households earn at that rate. Likewise, the education levels of our membership is also strong. 60% of our members have a bachelor's degree or higher, compared to the state average of only 32%. Importantly, the membership of our card room is highly diverse. Approximately 27% of our members are Hispanic, 15% are Asian. Our members come from all walks of life and include both blue and white collar workers, CEOs, business owners, police officers, lawyers, doctors, high-tech workers, and so much more. They are good, law-abiding citizens who play cards to compete and socialize in a game of skill. In closing, let me add a personal note. I'm a family man about to celebrate my 33rd wedding anniversary. My wife and I both graduated from Texas public high schools and the University of Texas at Austin, as did our amazing son, who followed in our footsteps and graduated from UT in 2020. Like many, I started playing cards in high school with my buddies. Over the past 40 years, I've been fortunate to acquire many close friends and business associates through participating in this amazing game. I play poker a few times a week and as a recreational activity that I truly enjoy. I'm not a poker pro, I'm a poker enthusiast. I just love the game. I share all of this because I'm one of many who are both family men and business owners who experience the competitive excitement and joy of playing poker at the Lodge Card Club. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is John Green.
Good evening. My name is John Green, 1401 South I-35. I hail from London, England, and I am the Director of Food and Beverage for the Lodge Card Club. I moved to Texas 6 months ago, and it's been an amazing experience. The people of Texas have been extremely welcoming and friendly. As an active member of the Card Club, this experience has been reinforced by how many people I have met from all walks of life. My experience at the Card Club has transcended culture, race, and socioeconomics, and has shown me clubs like this offer very great social benefits for the communities that they are in. I've seen the immediate area surrounding the proposed location in Farmers Branch. It currently has virtually no foot or drive-by traffic. This creates a massive void for both existing and new businesses alike. The Card Club will draw literally thousands of people to the area, not only from Dallas, from throughout the United States, and from around the world, like myself. In addition to the card room, the plan is to open a restaurant on the site. It will be open to the general public and will further invigorate the area and create more jobs. This would obviously be an immense benefit to the city of Farmers Branch. The current business in Round Rock employs 205 people with annual compensation of over $10 million in wages and benefits. The Card Club and Restaurant in Farmers Branch will provide employment for approximately 300 people. The business model is improved by hiring local staff, and thus will generate employment growth in this area specifically. Not only will hundreds of new jobs be created, but Lodge Card Club employees in Round Rock presently earn between $60,000 to $100,000 annually. The current per capita income in Farmers Branch is around $44,000. Thus, having a card club will not only create hundreds of jobs, but will pay way above the per capita average, creating opportunities for the people of Farmers Branch. These jobs will require training, which further benefits the local workforce. The club in Round Rock currently has annual taxable sales of approximately $12 million. The expected revenue in Farmers Branch is approximately $18 to $20 million. Thus, key financial points to consider regarding Lodge Card Club's expansion in Farmers Branch include the business is self-sustaining and cash flow positive from day one. Unlike many new businesses that look for concessions or monetary incentives from local government authorities, we do not. With a $4 to $6 million investment and expected revenues in excess of $20 million, there is no doubt that Lodge Card Club will generate substantial tax revenues, for Farmers Branch. My business philosophy has always been good people equals good business. Our management team combined has hundreds of years of experience in the card room and hospitality fields. They will ensure the success of the business and train our new local staff, providing them with lifelong skills. To conclude, in summation, the addition of a Lodge Card Club in the city of Farmers Branch will activate an underutilized neighborhood, showcase Farmers Branch's dynamic, forward-looking city, create literally hundreds of new well-paying jobs, and add millions in tax revenue in coming years. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. That concludes citizen comment for this evening. Next up is our consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mayor, I'd be happy to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'll second the motion.
Thank you. A motion and second. If you would, please indicate your vote. Okay. Do other cities use this? If this is yeah. Okay. You getting it? You're showing it? You showing it? Oh, okay. Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up is public hearing, item J1. Consider a public hearing and conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3852, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance related to home occupation, and take appropriate action.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Not long ago, the city's code enforcement department looked into revising the regulations surrounding home occupations. That department held discussions with the City Council through study sessions, and although Chapter 26 focuses on businesses within our code, home occupation is already a classified use and defined within our zoning ordinance known as Chapter 94. On page 2 of your staff report, you'll find a current definition for home occupation and how it's listed in our current use table. This proposed amendment that staff is bringing forward will actually replace that existing definition with a set of what we call special performance standards. Excuse me. These performance standards provide a more clear and streamlined framework for understanding home occupations, easier for our citizens, easier for our staff to understand. The main takeaway from these standards is that home occupations must be inconspicuous, as this protects the surrounding homes and preserves the character of a neighborhood. These performance standards also ensure that home occupations will also always be accessory to the residence. It will be limited to residents that remain within that dwelling unit. There will not be installation or outside storage of anything per these requirements. If there are visitors, parking is restricted to the driveway or the adjacent curb. The external appearance of the home must also remain the same. Excuse me. We've also included some allowed and prohibited examples within this performance standards section. Music lessons, tutoring, home offices, daycares are some examples that would be permitted. As far as prohibited, running a business that works on vehicles, or running a business to work on vehicles for folks outside the home, medical offices, barber shops, those types of uses would be prohibited. On March 15th, a notice on this particular item was published within the Dallas Morning News. Prior to this publication, one letter was received by staff from a resident. The commission unanimously recommended approval of this ordinance following a public hearing that was held on March 25th recently. And with that, I will continue to stand for questions.
Thank you very much. Councilman Roman? Councilman Baird?
Thank you, Mayor. I received a couple of emails from citizens, and I agree with what they said. If you go, so if we're allowing 6 or fewer children for daycare, I feel like we should allow 6 or fewer for music lessons. One of the letters, I think actually both of the letters were from homeschool moms.
Understood.
Who were concerned that if, they trade off and will take their kids with other kids to a neighbor's house. And they said this would really put a damper on that. So that is my main issue of wanting to change that to at least 6 students for music lessons.
Understood. And I think as far as for daycares, state law is what dictates when you have more than 6, that's where licensing comes into play. When you have less than 6, there's no licensing. When it comes to the music lessons, the tutoring for fewer, it was somewhat arbitrary. I mean, we chose that number only because of the number of vehicles that might visit during that time. We figured 4 would maybe work. We looked at other cities. Other cities also use 4, but I'm open to change. We would just want to include something like that within the motion.
Great.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman?
I echo those sentiments of Councilman Martin. I too received messages about that, specifically to the homeschoolers. I don't know if that's even, maybe we put that in there as an exclusion, homeschoolers.
That's understandable. We just need to include that into the motion.
Thank you, Councilman Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Marcos. Can you define cottage food production? And how's that different from the rest of that part of the ordinance that says, but not other types of food preparation?
Right. So normally with cottage food production, and again, this goes back to state law. There's state law that allows for folks to actually prepare foods within their home, not using commercial-grade appliances. That's really what differentiates between cottage food versus if you're just using an oven that is made for a residence versus an oven that's used for commercial production. Normally with a restaurant, everything has to be commercial-based. Again, with cottage food, it does allow for baking of some sorts, but there's a whole slew of laws that goes behind that also, that somebody who wants to serve food would need to adhere to, and that's purely state law. I don't have all the specifics behind the cottage law, like in front of me, but we could absolutely get more information on cottage law if needed.
So if I'm cooking food from my standard homeowner oven at home and I'm selling that as part of my business, that's problematic with the ordinance. But if I have commercial, that is actually it's included.
Right, exactly. You can actually cook food if you fall under the cottage law standards or the cottage law regulations. That will allow somebody to bake at their house, and as long as they adhere to those particular standards built into the state law, they absolutely can. This does not prohibit that at all.
Okay, all right,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Yes, sir.
One other question. What's not permissible are barber shops, beauty shops, or hairdressers.
Yes, sir.
Known over a long period of time, a few people here and there, mainly women that might have a chair in their house in a room, and they cut women's hair, men's hair, one at a time, that kind of thing. Why would that kind of a business, home-based business, not be permitted?
Sure. So again, normally there's licensing that's required with barbershops and beauty salons. There's also state laws that require, if you have a beauty shop or a barber shop, you have to have a separate entrance on your home that leads. You cannot walk into your main entrance that goes like through the resident's home to go to that barber shop. So there's other laws that go along with it. Again, looking at how other cities handle barbershops and beauty salons, they're not permitted currently. If you look at our rules and regulations, how our laws are written, barbershops and beauty shops are currently not permitted also as a home occupation currently. So we kept the status quo of what is already prohibited. We can move forward. I mean, if this is something that the council desires to have barbershops and beauty salons be allowed as a home occupation, we absolutely can make the alteration. We were just sticking with currently how the law is written.
Yeah, no, understood. And my thinking was that, it's like one car at a time, and part of my perspective in reading through the ordinance was about traffic, not increasing traffic on that street, that kind of thing. And it didn't seem to me that a barber shop or hairdresser occupation would do that, but I understand the reasoning. So I'm not proposing that we include it, particularly if it is a consistent exclusion in other cities.
Yes, sir, and it is. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that you have to have that separate entrance. It's a little hard to keep up with that because there is no permitting in this process. When you have a home occupation, they do not permit with us. So will they build that additional door? Will they have that additional exit and entrance? It turns into more of code enforcement, having to make sure that that is something that they're adhering to. So we opted to just exclude.
Okay, very
Yes,
good.
sir.
And I'll echo that in the permissible uses for music lessons and tutoring, if we change that to 6, that to me makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman Merritt.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Marcos. Could you elaborate on why we don't have a permitting process in this particular ordinance?
Well, when it comes to home occupation, we've never had a permitting process for home occupation. It's been in our use table. We've had it defined for many years. We've never included a permitting process for it. It was discussed a little bit during the planning and zoning study session. We did receive a letter from one person that was opposed to having this permitted. That was the letter that I had spoke about earlier that we had received. But again, we kept with the status quo on that.
Understood.
Just to not have to create that additional paperwork. But again, if that's something that the city desires, that's obviously something we could look at.
Understood. Thank
Yes,
you. Could you help me understand warehouse and distribution? I'm thinking of more of the individual who might be doing some sort of hobby work, if you will, and he may or she may warehouse his or her materials, his or her products, and then distribute them. Is that warehousing and distribution per your definitions?
Well, when it comes to warehousing and distribution, again, we limit everything to only 25% of the residents. Only 25% of the residents is allowed to be utilized as home occupation. And in this particular case, I believe we actually say that, and I'm sorry, I have to reread through this real quick. Property and such. Right, so again, we're excluding warehousing and distribution on personal property. Now, again, if they keep that on their home and it falls within that 25%, I don't think anybody has any issues with that because you're still falling within the 25% rule. It's the idea of scope creep. If this turns into something that's larger
Sure.
than what
So
it is.
in my 4-bedroom home, if I use 1 bedroom as the warehouse and distribution, I fall underneath the.
Yes, sir.
Because we not only would include the kitchen and other places in my home, that would be below the 25%.
Yes, sir. And I think we understand also that when it comes to these home occupations, a lot of them have storage of some sort, obviously. I mean, they're going to. What we don't want is, again, inconspicuous is the most important term.
Correct.
Nobody should know that any of these home occupations are occurring. And that's really our focus on this.
Fair enough.
Yes, sir.
One other question goes back to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. In the minutes, there was a discussion about independent contractors that Commissioner Miller brought up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to get back to the language in I just exited the entire, my apologies, too many clicks. Ben, that's at 3 clicks. Thank you very much, Richard, I appreciate it. The paragraph in the planning notes say, Commissioner Miller asked whether independent contractor working out of a multifamily residential unit was currently prohibited. And Mr. Campbell asked Mr. Miller to clarify if it meant someone was working from home for a business outside their residence. Mr. Miller said yes. Mr. Campbell clarified that the proposed ordinance would not preclude working from home. And then Mr. Miller asked, this is the focus of my question, then asked about independent contractors. You said, Mr. Navarro stated that this would be considered a home occupation and would not be permitted. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. So when it comes to independent contractors, this is where there might be a bit of confusion because multifamily home occupation should not be within multifamily. It is not permitted at all. Even currently, right now, multifamily is not, home occupation is not permitted within the multifamily district. So technically speaking, no. Independent contractors who are working out of their home in a multifamily situation does not meet the home occupation definition that we currently have, or what we're proposing at this moment right now also. So to answer your question, if you're independent contractor, you're working out of your home, you're running your business out of an apartment, that is technically not permitted. Again, this is all complaint-based. I'm sure things are going to happen unbeknownst to us, but the letter of the law, basically this is saying you cannot do home occupation within the multifamily, any multifamily district.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fascinating nuance
Yes.
to how that plays out.
Yes,
And
sir.
I think the nuance for me is if they're working for another parent business, if you will, and that's classified in your definition, if I heard it correctly, as working from home. Is that correct?
Right, so if it's their own business, that can't occur in a multifamily district. That cannot happen in a the way this is written and the way it's structured today, even before this ordinance is approved, that cannot happen in multifamily. Now, if you're working for you've got a headquarters somewhere else, let's say you're, I don't know, IBM, there you go, and you're working for IBM, absolutely, and you're working from home. I mean, American Airlines, when you call American Airlines, they are all working from home.
Sure.
That has nothing to do with home occupation. Home occupation is when you're actually running, the business is based in that unit or in that actual single-family home. So I don't want to get this confused with people who remote work.
Correct.
Or folks that are working for a larger company that they're just working from home. That's completely different than this. This is more for the folks that their entire business is run solely from their home. Their business is run from their home.
It's a nuance that needs to perhaps be looked at in the age of post-pandemic work environment.
Understood. We've taken more of the stringent stance on this.
I understand.
But I think our point in bringing it this way is staying more stringent. If this doesn't work, we can always bring this back.
Understood.
Especially if you hear from your constituents that something like this is just not viable
Sure,
and
and
not
I
working.
heard you say it's predominantly complaint-based. I understand
Yes,
that.
sir.
When
Absolutely.
it becomes a nuisance and not a nuance.
Yes, sir.
If you will. Very good. Thank you for your
Absolutely.
input. No further questions, Mayor.
Thank you. Marcos, I would like to follow up on the line of questioning Councilman Merritt just asked. Let's talk in more practical terms. Mary Kay. There's lots of individuals who are Mary Kay contractors, and they may have inventory at their home. So is that allowed, not allowed?
As long as it doesn't go beyond the 25%, if this is their business and they're running it from the home and it's not outside, they're not storing anything outside and it's not going beyond 25% of the home, then technically people can run that type of business out of their home.
Okay. Now I want to talk about remedies to residents. So let's talk first about motor vehicle work unaffiliated with main dwelling. So what are the remedies to residents if somebody is running a body shop and they're doing automotive repair, say in a detached garage, or even have a paint booth in a detached area from the main home on a residential property? Is that allowed?
Are they working on their own vehicle? No, that is not allowed.
And so how does the city, how do residents go about putting a stop to that?
Sure. Again, it's going to boil down to complaint based because I'd probably be incorrect in saying that we're driving around looking for any of this. Now, again, when folks bring a complaint to the city, we're going to investigate it. Especially when it comes to the planning department. In this case, we would work very closely with code enforcement to address the situation.
Okay. So if somebody has this behind, say, a 8 or 9 foot tall fence, 9 foot not being allowed, but the fence is at least 9 foot tall, and you don't, that somebody from the city doesn't necessarily see it, and the gate only opens for a short amount of time to let a vehicle in or out, then is it still just up to neighbors to say, hey, there's some activity going on over here, it's bothering me?
Yeah, because I believe as the city, I don't think we cannot just enter someone's property. So this is really, again, based on complaints.
And who do they complain to?
It would be to the planning department or to code enforcement, because since this is falling under Chapter 94, it's a zoning violation. Although our code enforcement is who we utilize for enforcement.
Okay. I'll move to warehousing and distribution then. Well, I talked about Mary Kay briefly. If there was somebody who, case in point, 4,000 square foot home, not occupied, being used strictly to store merchandise for their business down on Harry Hines.
Cannot do that.
Nobody lives in the house.
Cannot do that. This is this is specific to being just an accessory use. So it has to be secondary or what we would consider incidental
Okay.
to the primary use being the residence. And again, are not to exceed the 25%. And again, if we're finding that homes are being rented and the entire home is being utilized for storage, absolutely, we can cite in that particular case.
Again, who do they complain to?
It would still, again, be the planning department and code enforcement.
Okay. And let's say somebody's using their home for distribution of, I'm just picking, margarita machines and mixes and equipment, all sorts of stuff like that. And they've got vehicles coming to pick up machinery, sometimes blocking an alley. They have deliveries coming and going, sometimes blocking an alley. While it may not, I don't know whether it may not be 25% of a residential space, but it's still a business activity that is adversely affecting a neighborhood.
Oh, yes, sir. That's still, if it's adversely affecting the neighborhood, again, inconspicuous is the key word. So this should never be adverse. It should never adversely affect anybody or any neighbor. If the traffic is getting out of hand, again, the rules and regulations that we've written here says you cannot, even though I know we talk about allowing for visitors to come up to so many, we can't increase the type of traffic that was normally coming and going from this location. Again, that's why we have zoning. If they're running a full-fledged business, it needs to be in commercial. It needs to be in local retail. It needs to be somewhere else. This should never mess with the character or change any of the typical dynamics that you find in a single-family residence. So if it's becoming a nuisance or if it's becoming a noise issue, all of our rules and regulations still apply, absolutely. So you would still come to the planning department and to code enforcement, and we would address it.
Okay. And lastly, obviously I understand the requirements for barbershops and beauty salons. Certainly those cutting hair need to be licensed.
Sure.
And there are specific requirements, as you alluded to, from the state as to separate entrances, et cetera, if this is going to be at a residential location. What if these activities are going on and you don't have separate residents, or excuse me, a separate entrance to the establishment, because that's essentially what you have. And then how do you allow for health inspections that need to be done at such business?
Well, the state.
Who do you call?
There's a Texas License and Regulatory Service that can be notified. They're already in violation of our law because we don't allow for barbershops, but that could be escalated to the regulatory. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that, council member. And they'll be in violation of state law.
But from the city standpoint, you know, people are always going to start here. So
Yes, sir.
don't call the mayor, call planning
Planning, yes, sir.
and code enforcement.
It's job security, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's all I had. Does anybody else have any
Just give a point
questions?
of clarification. FBTX Connect would be the preferred way to submit a concern. It'll enter the city's workflow and it'll keep a tracking on it so we can follow up with everyone. So FBTX Connect is the preferred way to submit a concern and you'll get a staff response very quickly.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else have any questions? Seeing none, all righty. This item, excuse me. It is a public hearing. I do not have anybody signed up to speak to this item. It is marked for action, so I would entertain a motion to close public hearing and take appropriate action.
Mayor, I'd move for approval of item. Oh, I move that we close the public hearing. Excuse me.
I'll second, Mayor.
Okay, all in favor of closing the public hearing? Closing the public hearing. Okay, public motion passed, public hearing is closed. Now, action
Mayor, I move that we approve.
or discussion?
I'm sorry?
Well, yeah, discussion. Well, then you have to make a motion first and then discussion. Okay. Okay, you want to make a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve item J1, ordinance 3852, but exempt music lessons and tutoring from the ordinance.
Okay. Is there any discussion regarding the motion? Discussion.
Councilman Baird, you're exempting, you talked earlier about 6, but now the motion involves exempting it entirely. I'm just clarifying the direction.
Yes, I believe so.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Second. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. If you would, please indicate. Motion passes 4-1. Thank you. Next up is item K1. Consider approving Resolution 2024-041, authorizing the city manager to execute change order number 2 for the design-build contract for the Multisport facility with Lee Lewis Construction, Inc., allowing for the construction of a parking lot, fire lane, and utilities in the amount of $1,486,459, and take appropriate action.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm Ryan Sauter. I'm the Director of Public Works. And tonight we're going to discuss the STARS Multisport facility, which is already under construction on the building phase. Now we need to get them a parking lot, some water and sewer. Quick overview. December of 2022, design build contract was awarded to Lee Lewis Construction for the Multisport facility in the amount of $23,355,161. January 2024, there was a change order, number 1, allocating the interest that had accrued since December, and that was then added back to the original contract, making it a not to exceed 23.8 on the building, 23.81 million, I believe, on the building. And here we are in April of 2024, looking for change order number 2, adding the parking lot, utilities, and infrastructure to the scope of work. Change order number 2 will be adding the parking lot, fire lane construction, all the utility construction, which includes water, sewer, and storm sewer. These items were part of the original scope of work in the original agreement. We are now adding these items back in as a change order using the Pike Street bond as the funding source. This allows Lee Lewis to control the full scope of the development. It avoids multiple city contractors working on one job site. It also prevents any further delays in the project, which we've experienced many. And the total cost of this change order is $1,486,459, which includes the concrete parking lots, water, sewer, and storm. All right. Any discussion?
What was the amount that you just quoted?
$1,486,459.
That's, I'm here. Not that it matters.
Brian, can you clarify on the resolution? It's calling for $1,486,459.
That's what I said. 459?
Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
$1,486,459.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay. Council, any discussion? I'll start at my right. Councilman Merritt?
Thank you, Ryan. Just to clarify, the funds are available in the Pike Street bond, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Councilman Jackson? Good. Councilwoman? Councilman? Okay. This item is marked for action.
Mayor, I'll be happy to make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-041 as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. If you would, please indicate.
I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. So next up are items K2 and K3, which are going to be discussed in executive session. However, I will allow citizen comment right now before we go into executive session. So first up is Vicki Harrison.
Vicki Harrison, 3706 Ridgel Way, Farmers Branch, 75244. Regarding the employee of the attorney, there are several concerns I have in continuing with the same firm. One of them being, as a managing partner, as an equity partner, this attorney has part of his charge and his job to protect the firm. So that, to me, constitutes somewhat of a conflict of interest because we are unhappy with, I assume, from everything that we've been allowed to know publicly, we're not too happy with the job this past attorney performed. And top of the mind is, when you wanted to have the Star Center, the weekend came before the document was supposed to be signed, sealed, and delivered. On that weekend, and actually a city council member sent a copy of, probably it was an ethics violation, I don't know, of what the city had received. There was not a completed contract, not at all. There was redlining, and it was not prepared. They were told, people on staff were told, he did not have time to prepare it. He had too many things to do. At the end of the day, there was a deadline Monday. We either lost the contract or we agreed to something. The city agreed to a contract we didn't have. It was not completed. In fact, the officials from the Stars came to the council chambers. There was a discussion. They pledged to the terms that we had discussed, but he did not have that contract prepared. To me, that's a really good reason to question his concerns and his performance for the city. That was a major issue, and actually, what was done was not kosher. There should have been a completed contract, and there was not one. So it was this Hail Mary. Secondly, in terms of meetings, that attorney was charged that there would be order, that the only discussions would be the things that were on the agenda, and that's not what happened. And then, to top it off, he offered when a certain council member or two, maybe the mayor, were unhappy about a vote regarding Oak Brook, I can say that, things got pretty heated. He didn't stop that heated discussion. He should have intervened. Oh, how he intervened was to say, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for the signs. That's not legal. He should not have intervened. He should not have commented. So there are a lot of reasons that I think he should be dismissed, but I also believe that the firm should have been aware of what was going on, and apparently they were not. So I do believe it's a conflict of interest. I think that the city should choose another firm with a fresh start, and the idea that it would be too much trouble or effort for the staff, 3 people told me that, is ridiculous. Because the attorneys would be the ones that are doing the work. And in fact, maybe if you had a more efficient attorney that turned in the information that was required and processed it correctly, then there wouldn't be so much time. And definitely the lack of decorum in the council meetings and study sessions, when he sat there and said nothing to stop it, is a disgrace. So
Thank you.
I would ask that you consider changing.
Next up is Rick Johnson.
Council, Mayor.
Name and address.
It's Rick Johnson, 2930 Harley, Farmers Branch, Texas. Under the circumstances, the fact is if you're in corporate, right, and you have a partner or a firm that makes the kind of bad decisions that's happened here, and inevitably, I think you'll find out it has cost the city quite a bit of money. A hourly rate of $200 then shoots up to what, 900, 1,000? So that's not the best deal going. The other part is you should have a real problem with the fact that nobody knows what's going on here within that firm. So you have a firm that's not informed, that has a rogue partner that's doing things that they shouldn't, and it throws this whole place into chaos. With that being said, it's time to move on. Unfortunately, cheaper is not always better. Everybody wants to take the cheap route. Everybody wants to save money. That's human nature. But in the end, it's time to part ways, move on, and you've got to look at the actions. In any corporate world, these people would have been terminated automatically. The firm would have been terminated. If indeed we find out it has cost us money, if they want to rebid or something like that, are they going to pay us the money that they cost us back? No, they won't do it. So at that point, it's just time to go. And that's the decision you have to make. They've been here a long time, and you know what? Sometimes they've been great, other times they haven't been. There's a lot of questionable stuff. And you know what? If we're going to change Farmers Branch and get a fresh start and try to shake some of the bad things that have happened here, we got to do it at every level. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, I'm going to read into executive session. The city council may convene into executive session at any time during the study session or a regular meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, Subchapter 2, for the purpose of seeking confidential legal advice from the city attorney on any agenda item. So we will be taking or discussing items K2 and K3 in executive session. We will not be taking any formal action in executive session. These are discussion items only. And the time is 7:25. Thank you. Thank you. It's 8:45. We'll resume our city council meeting. And our next order of business is K2, item K2. There was a
No action of executive, you're still items. Yeah.
So, there's no action to take as a result of the executive session. So,
K2.
on K2,
Yeah, go ahead,
which was,
go ahead and open up K2. You're moving to
okay, so I'm K2. Consider taking action to terminate legal services contract with Nichols, Jackson, Dillard, Hager, and Smith, and take appropriate action.
Mayor, I move to deny the request to terminate the NJDHS contract for legal services effective September 30, 2024.
Mayor, I second it.
We have a motion and a second. If you would, please indicate your vote accordingly. This is like a triple negative. So motion passes unanimously. Next up is item K3, consider obtaining RFP to solicit legal services for the city and take appropriate action.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve the moving forward with an RFP to solicit legal services as discussed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you. If you would, please indicate. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next up is item K4. Oops.
Forgive me for interrupting.
Yes.
Before we proceed on to the next agenda item, could I please?
Absolutely.
have an opportunity to make
Yes.
To make a brief statement, is that how that works? It's a button?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, thank you. All right, so I'm a partner in the law firm. I've been a partner with Nichols Jackson since 1990. I've been employed with the firm since I graduated from law school in the mid-'80s. I do have a brief statement that I want to read in connection with the matters that led up to the past two agenda items. And I thank the council for not firing the law firm. I've seen the video from the April 2nd meeting from the study session. I discussed the issues with members of the council who expressed their concerns, as well as with my partners, and there were only 4 of us. I did not, and given the circumstances, could not conduct any kind of an investigation, but that would have been pointless. Simple fact is that members of the Farmers Branch City Council were upset and frustrated, and that's all that matters. The city of Farmers Branch is a long-standing and highly valued client of the law firm, and on behalf of the firm, we apologize for the events and the circumstances that led to the April 2nd study session. Be assured that we've made changes in the attorneys who will serve the city going forward. We renew our commitment to the city, and on a personal note, I'm really excited and proud to be hopefully to be the city attorney for the city of Farmers Branch now and for a long time into the future. You should expect to see me at future council meetings, at staff conferences, operational events, but not dunking booths. I'm going to say I'm allergic to water if I'm asked. So thank you all. And again, we apologize on behalf of the firm for the incidents that led up to that study session. I promise it won't happen again.
Well, thank you, and I think we're very pleased with our outcome tonight and look forward to working with you on into the future. Okay. Next up is item K4. Consider setting goals and objectives for the city manager for the contract year December 2023 through December 2025 and take appropriate action.
Mayor, will you pass these down?
Yes. You take one. I think there was one. Oh, okay.
Take one then.
Okay.
Well, Mayor and Council, this is a follow-up to the last meeting, the special called meeting, trying to help facilitate creating a pathway, a framework for evaluating the city manager. So I took your feedback that was more of a draft form of here's some ideas on how to look at behaviors and my work plan, and basically put those into a workable form to where it creates a structure that's pretty straightforward on the expectations, how to use the form, divide by 4 if there's 4, but took the different categories y'all had asked for, took every attempt I could to incorporate your feedback. The one I couldn't get in there was consolidating 5, 7, and 9. I could not get the last topic, working with other entities, to fit in there nicely. So what I did is I took all your feedback, merged it together, and made the form workable to where as we go throughout the year, not only can we fill it out as we go, but when it's time to put scores, and it'll give you a workable way to work forward with developing a scoring metric and matrix for me as the city manager. The last part would be the work plan. I followed the guidance y'all asked for, removed the items that you said, hey, probably not what we'd like to see on there. And then I also formatted them into SMART objectives. So they're a little bit wordier, but they do fit that where they're specific, they're measurable, they give you a time frame for it. I'd argue they're all realistic and relatable in time frame with them as well. So this is my attempt to take you all's feedback, create a document that's a holistic approach to it. Again, the council in November may want to take a little bit different approach, but at least there's a starting place now for how to conduct the evaluation versus maybe just a PowerPoint presentation saying, here's the year, here's the guidance I received, and here's how I incorporated it. This is more formal, and I believe it's really good structure for anybody looking at it to know how you're looking at my performance as your city manager. So I just want to take your feedback and see if this is the right pathway forward, or if there's more things we need to do to make this better to fit the needs you're looking for to evaluate the city manager. It's a little bit lengthy, my apologies for that, but I want to make it a usable form and not shrink the font. And
Yep, no, thank you very much. And obviously, I'll say seeing this for the first time, I may need some time to digest, but I'll start at my left and see if anybody has any immediate comments. Councilman Roman?
Can you come back to me?
Sure. Councilman Baird?
I'm going to have time to digest.
Okay. That may be the consensus for this evening, Council.
did Mayor and Council, did this not, I know it was a short turnaround, but did it make it to you all Monday? I tried to send it out yesterday. Okay, it's still short turnaround, okay.
Okay. Councilman Jackson?
Thank you, Mayor. So Ben, I think this is some good work that you've put together. It covers all of the critical areas that I would expect your performance to be assessed on. My understanding of this process is that we as a council use this as a consistent approach to assessing your performance.
Correct. I will look for my council to calibrate, come together once you all talk to me about it and reviewed it, and then you all to come together and create one score and one review of me, not 6 independent scores. Would be the goal.
So we would each complete one of these, and then we can combine all of our scores to come up with one central. So if David scored you a 1 and I scored you a 5, then ours together will give you a 2.5.
I would ask that y'all would dialogue as to why one was a 1 and one was a 5, and then pick the closest whole number, because what happens when you start using decimals, it starts to get away from a less effective evaluation, because the tough decision is it a 4 or is it a 3? Is it a 2 or 3? Is it a 4 or 5? And it's easy to say, well, it's a 4.6. I'm going to ask that we get to the whole number, and that'll get you, usually it'll lower the score a little bit, but it gives a more honest and authentic evaluation in my experience when you take it just at a whole number. But this way, because you each are going to look at my performance differently, and you're going to see it differently, but when you come together to calibrate, and I do something similar with my directors, is my deputy city manager and I are going to meet, and we're going to calibrate the scores together, because what if she sees somebody as a 5 and I see them as a 1? Well, her and I need to get together and make sure we're giving true feedback and figure out what we're seeing differently. So that's the goal.
Is it because this is a personnel and a performance matter, I would anticipate the first time the council comes together to speak on this would be in an executive session setting?
Absolutely, but I hope to have conversations with you all consistently throughout the year to see where we're going and make, because I need to share some of the things I'm doing, because some of this is about my staff leadership, and make sure y'all don't just feel it in a council meeting, but what else is going on behind the scenes to execute the direction of council, or if there's been a miss, and say, hey, maybe there was a better opportunity to approach this. That way, at the end of the year, you can each share your experiences with me as your city manager and how to give me feedback as a group to where the next year can be even better.
Right, and you and I talked about this earlier, or late last week, Friday. We all meet with you individually once a week. I think it makes sense for you to quarterly schedule this as your part of your discussion on a quarterly basis with each of us, so that you're not having 5 different timings of conversations or 6 different timings of conversations. It's all over the board. It makes it a little bit more organized for you to put together an assessment and draw the real picture of your assessment on a quarter-by-quarter basis.
Correct. That would be the minimum I'd ask for, but I'll respect the rhythms that each council member would go for. And then on this one, for the behaviors part of it, item 6 was after you weren't there for that part of the meeting, you asked for me to incorporate the core values. So as I was looking at
Right.
how to do that, I did add react to it. I also did put the ICMA Code of Ethics in there because that's what I adhere to as a city manager. And the final part would be personal and professional integrity. I know that's not technically one of the listed core values, but I think that's very important in my role. And integrity is something that comes up quite often as a talking point of how I approach things. And so I wanted to put that on there for you all to consider as well, but also not just have you each look at each one of the core values because some of them are tough to quantify. So holistically, I feel it's much easier to look at them.
Well, and that's why I requested that REACT be a part of this assessment. All right. Thank you, Ben. No further questions, Mayor.
Councilman Merrick.
Thank you, Mayor. Ben, if I may, we had talked about a 360 survey of the directors. Is that part of what is in the work plan that talks about a 360 survey for leadership feedback?
It is. It's on the second item of the work plan.
It is, and I want to make sure that we all understand that that's the city management leadership feedback.
Yes.
And not leadership of departments, and that's how I read it. Unfortunately, the first go-around, it was leadership of the departments and not city manager.
Correct.
So, thank you for that clarification. Secondarily, this is covering from December 23 to December of 25. Councilman Jackson just spoke of quarterly touch points. Would that be in lieu of any annual checkpoint as well?
No,
And I'm just asking the question, I'm not suggesting one way or the other, but I like the idea of the quarterly checkpoint progression, if you will. And that could be perfectly fine, but I wanted to hear your interpretation.
So the period will still be 1 year when it's on the anniversary of the contract's performance period for it. So the total contract goes through 25, and that was just expressing the totality of the contract, which council can change as well. But for this one, I would expect my first full review to be in November, December of this year.
Fair enough.
Based on this.
Okay, thank you.
As long as council's okay with this. It's whatever direction I'd like to go. But if we go this way, this is what I would expect.
Fair enough. Thank you for that. Those are the only questions I have at the moment. Other than that, I think you worked a good interpretation of what I believe everyone's input was, and we do have the skills, the overarching open-ended questions, as well as the work plan. So I think this is a good start. Future councils can certainly build upon this, and it's a good place to jump off at. So I'm happy with what we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Roman?
Thanks for coming back. Sometimes I don't like to be the first one to go every single time, but I needed to also make sure that from what was in the email, nothing had changed, and it looks fine. I think you did a good job of incorporating and grouping things together as we had discussed, and it, of course, still allows the opportunity for open-ended questions. I know I'll have my own little check-ins with you, trying to mimic something that I do at work already. So, I like this. Thank you.
I did want to clarify on Councilman Roman's point. He made a great point. Nothing has changed from the email I sent you with this attachment. That's a great thing I didn't clarify at the beginning. This is what you received electronically as well. Nothing has been changed.
Thank you. Councilman Baird? Okay. Councilwoman Bennett?
Thank you. You did good.
All right.
Sorry, I couldn't get it to you sooner. I was working hard.
Thank you for doing this, and this will help us immensely in terms of moving forward. So with that, there was no other business to attend to.
It is marked for action, so I'm going to ask council
no.
to accept.
It said appropriate action, but it
Take appropriate action.
take appropriate action. So council, I would entertain a motion to accept.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept these as Ben's goals for the year,
Very
or for
good.
the time period that's stated.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and second. If you would, please indicate your acceptance. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And with that, we will be adjourned at 9 o'clock. Thank you.